this answers a fundamental question, for humanity. Are we alone, or, what happens when we die? Well, I don't know about that, but are we alone? Well, the answer is we're not alone. And I know that with 100% certainty, which as an intel officer, you never say 100%, but all things pointed towards, based on the people I talked to, like Harry Reid, and I use him as an example, but I talked to the highest of the high people you could possibly talk to, if you catch my drift. So unless all of them are lying and they're covering up something else, which I don't even know what it would be at this point, because the phenomenon is real. It's been going on for thousands of years. People have been seeing strange things, and not everybody's mass hallucinating. So that's kind of my long diatribe about what's happening.
What do they think these things are? The people that you talk to.
So they specifically, the people on the program that handle the material, that were in executive level briefings with Intel community leaders and other folks over the years, last 20 years or so, they did use the term extraterrestrial, ET or whatever. Okay, that is a possible origin, but the Schumer Amendment, if you read it, it specifically uses non-human intelligence, NHI, very deliberately, because we want to catch everything, because what if some of this stuff is not ET and they're going to use that as an escape clause? Like, well, this stuff that we don't even know if it's extraterrestrial, so this doesn't apply. So that's why we wanted to be as broad as possible. I mean, besides ET, a lot of it would be my own personal opinion. I think we have a couple conceivable buckets, and I'm using the work of Jacques Vallée, other people that have thought deeply on the issue, on how the phenomenon has changed since antiquity. It showed itself in a different way. Like a good example is like witches sitting on your chest phenomenon with paralysis in medieval and Enlightenment era became this alien abduction phenomenon in the modern era. And is it the recipient and their analytical overlay cognitively seeing the phenomenon based on a modern interpretation, inside out? Or is the phenomenon, this is like Jacques Vallée's book, Passport to Magnolia, I can never pronounce it right, 1969, where he talks about the phenomenon seems to like masquerade itself as different stuff over the years. But, we've seen roughly the same stuff. If you look at the Foo Fighters of World War II, there are declassified Air Force OSI reports from the 50s, people can Google, that talk about flying butane tanks with the same measurements, approximately what we saw in the 2004 Tic Tac incident, but they called it flying propane or butane tanks in the 50s. So from a morphology, or in the Air Force intel, we call it VisRecce, visual reconnaissance, like they basically look the same, and we can back azimuth that, decades, if not hundreds of years in the past, Wheels of Ezekiel, right? They're seeing these like disc type objects, right? And unless Ezekiel is tripping, or this is an allegory or fable in the Bible, let's say the event happens. Just like in the Vedic text, you have the battles, the blue people, and the battles in the sky that sound like nuclear and directed energy weapons. Like, what's going on there? Maybe that's a Graham Hancock or Randall Carlson type thing. They know more than I. So there is a real phenomenon that origin undetermined, but it's trippy, and sometimes it presents itself in like a non-corporeal form too. Orbs, balls of energy. They don't appear as like some kind of bipedal hominid like some people have espoused. So I think that might be, call it interdimensional, call it shadow biome, crypto-terrestrial. There's a lot of different theories.
What are the primary theories? The primary theories are from another planet or from another dimension.
I think those are the primary. There's certainly origins that we probably can't conceptualize as humans because our meat is stuck in 3D and we don't understand, and our IQs are only so high. So there might be some origins that we don't understand.
In terms of like interdimensional travel.
Yeah. Obviously, if you talk to mainstream physicists, they say like crossing dimensions physically is kind of a trope. sci-fi. And, that's why I used an example. And I know some physicists don't like me talking about this theory, but it is a theory, so the holographic principle, which was originally conceived to explain how information is encoded on an event horizon of a black hole, which is a distance away from the singularity of a black hole where if you cross it, you're fucked because you're going to get ripped to shreds or you're not coming back. And that principle talks about how information basically from higher dimensional space can be encoded in lower dimensional space. And the easiest example is like us casting a shadow on a sidewalk, right? 3-dimensional object, 2D shadow on a sidewalk. If you lived in 2-dimensional space, flatland, you'd be tripped out. What the fuck am I seeing? But they just don't know that it's really just a person in higher dimensional space. So is some of the, obviously we have physical material that's in 3-dimensional space that we've recovered, but at least maybe some of the phenomenon is really operating in higher spatial dimensions, but is either being projected or quasi-projected into our 3D plus time space, which is really trippy to think about, but we literally do it on a day-to-day basis, like casting shadows. So, and that might be some of what we're seeing too, but I presume we know more. The people I talked to did not espouse they had full knowledge either. Like I said, the normal colloquialism was to say ET or extraterrestrial.
Could you dumb down this concept of interdimensional? What I know in physics, they have theorized that there are multiple dimensions other than those that we can currently detect.
Yeah, and a lot of that is based off of like Lagrange. This is my bachelor's degree talking. I know there's going to be like some physicist who has a PhD is like, oh, Dave, you fucked that up. But basically, from high energy particle collisions and based on the deflection angles and all this stuff, what happens when the particles collide, confirm certain theoretical frameworks about extra spatial dimensions. And, I can't speak with any real authority on, precisely how that works, but a lot of, whether it be string theory or quantum mechanics are based off of higher spatial dimensions. And, so that is a mainstream physics theoretical framework. That's not like wacky or loony or anything like that.